Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tuesday Connect, where truth meets life. My name is Kathy Matei, and it is such a joy to be back here. I'm joined by Baraka, who is the children's pastor here at Mamlaka Hill Chapel, and Mwangi Moshiri, who is the associate pastor here at Mamlaka Hill Chapel. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi, Kathy.
How have you been?
I feel like I'm truth meets life.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
Nice to meet you live.
That's Baraka for you.
Wow, Baraka.
Yeah.
So today we are going to be talking about a topic that I feel is close to Baraka's heart, because it was not long ago that he went through this process. This process. That's dowry, and everything around that dowry process when you're getting married. But I feel like it's important for us to start from just the point of marriage itself, because I feel like dowry is sort of like a process towards marriage, right? So Mwangi, since you've been a marriage pastor here for a long time, when you think marriage, what do you think?
I get my marching orders right from the scriptures, all the way Genesis 1:2-6. He created the male and female.
Male and female.
He created mankind 27. He created the male and female. I guess that's the most important thing we have to say nowadays.
Yeah.
We have to define it from there. And then, of course, by God's wisdom and design, and what we also see in many cultures, marriage is a serious thing, that it should never be a thing of two people only. So there's the question, the bigger question of accountability. And I guess that's the part now, the part of the process of getting married that begins to bring in families, communities. People get to know each other, so that it's not just the two individuals.
Yeah. And I guess that's where dowry now comes in this process
part
of bringing
of the
families
marriage
together.
process, yes.
And yet, so many people have so many bad things to say about this dowry process, right? A lot of people have been left with a sour taste in their mouth just because of dowries that they've been part of, or dowries that have been their own, Why do you think that is so?
Obviously, then, the more people are involved in the relationship, the more the potential for conflict. And you begin just the two of you. Before long, you are telling guys you're dating. Before long, the whole church is involved. Before long, the whole family is involved. And so just the fact that so many voices begin to speak into that space, then people begin to get sometimes even just jittery, just by the fact that there's so many voices. Sometimes just some people feel, I don't know, just the two of us. Why don't we have to have so many people involved?
There's a song about that. I won't sing it, but it's there.
Oh, very much known.
I don't know it. I could be betraying my age, but yeah.
You're fine.
But there are also there have been sometimes that's been exploitative, or sometimes just the feeling of exploitation. Maybe this and this is required, and then the person on this other side, especially on the giving side, begins to feel like, is that maybe more than what I was hoping to give, or this is demanded of me that I did not have, or have you put a price to your child, stuff like that.
I can tell you for sure that for ladies especially, it's very demeaning to feel that you're being uzwad, that you're being sold. I think it's really demeaning when people sit and they start saying, "Who you? We took her to school. So now you need to add money." I can tell you that a lot of ladies are not very pro.
Because what does that say about the child who perhaps is not as educated as the other? Less and less value.
So I guess if I can just add on to what you guys are saying, I think the bigger question with all these things to do with dowry, the negative connotations about dowry, I think they have to do with misunderstanding. I've met people, I've had their arguments, but mostly they are based on seriously misunderstanding what that process is about. I think that's the first thing we have to say. Misunderstanding the place of dowry in our marriage journeys. And then we also have to be honest and say part of the misunderstanding is because people are also selfish. A boy meets girl, and there is this huge thing that has happened, the malaria and everything, and they begin to think it's just us.
Yeah.
This journey is gonna be just us. Come
Isn't
on,
it
Kathy, we
romantic,
love
though?
each
Yeah,
other.
it's just me and you.
We
for the rest of our lives, you
we
know.
don't want the church advising us. We don't want to hear from the parents. We don't want to hear from the society.
Because we know what we feel.
We know how we feel about you, right? So the journey is gonna just be between us. I guess those are and then of course the other misunderstanding there is whenever we tend to think dowry is all about the money and the expenses involved. I think again most people I've met who are making cases against dowry, it's because of their experiences when dowry has only been interpreted or just seen as a financial whatever. Yeah.
I think another thing that has stood out in the recent times about dowry is just that it's become outdated. You know, it's one of those things that our parents did and their parents did and the parents before that did. But now we're in a modern world, you know, and things are done differently. And there's no need. I mean, my family and your family will meet and they'll know each other eventually. We'll get kids and
they
then
can come
both
to
of them,
greet the
you know,
grandchildren.
yeah.
What's the
big deal about that? But amidst the whole drama of what people think when they think dowry process and stuff, there actually have been a few very good, very meaningful dowry processes that have taken place, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, Baraka, if yours was like that.
Mine was beautiful. Scary to me because it was an unknown space, but beautiful in just seeing how much, you know, this uncle comes and speaks. They say this about you. They say, welcome you to the family. Hearing my people say, oh, we enjoyed ourselves in the trip. All those jokes and banters that came in there. I think I enjoyed my dowry process. It was beautiful to see people speak and to see. First, obviously, there's also a cross-cultural marriage, so also seeing that other side and what they value and things like that, a learning experience as well, adventure as well. So I believe I am grateful that I had a beautiful experience.
And Kathy, I think I've been privileged to be part of dowry processes or journeys with a good number of people. And even sitting there where action actually happens. And I would agree with Baraka. When it's well understood, it's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful space because it brings in accountability. It brings in people who never knew each other. But I think for me, the biggest thing that I keep learning or seeing in these dowry events is that even our culture, whichever way you want to look at it, of course, part of our culture is fallen, but within every culture is this big principle that no culture takes marriage lightly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Even in the Bible, mind you.
Uncles will be called from wherever. They have to come. It's a big thing. It can't be, again, a thing of me and whoever I want to marry, just the two of us. People are brought in. Families are brought in and our communities are brought in. It's usually very beautiful when it's not misunderstood.
And I think you have to look beyond the money factor. In the sense that I hear people these days say even this about parenting. They say don't get kids are expensive, and I'm like, that is true, but that doesn't negate the fact of value that the children bring into your family.
Everything is expensive.
Education is expensive.
Nowadays everything is expensive.
As your own person.
So should we delete you so you're expensive?
That's true.
And I think that a line I saw the other day, if you think some of these things, especially in the marriage journey, if you think some of these things are expensive, maybe you haven't considered the divorce fees.
My goodness. I hear that.
So you refuse to involve community, let people not be involved in your love journey. But as we know, we live in a very crazy world. And people haven't considered the other side. So I agree with Baraka.
Let me tell you, one of the things that I appreciate most about that dowry process, just the fact that my family and my husband's family could meet without us. You know, like my mom would call me and tell me, oh, I was with Lenny's aunt somewhere in town and we had coffee. I really, really appreciate that.
Yep.
I appreciate the fact that my mom and my dad feel that they have more family than the family that they have more family in Nairobi. You know, I think that's a blessing, that if they need something or if they were in a fix somewhere, then they are sure that there's someone or there's a group of people somewhere that would be more than willing to help because they are family. And I think that the place that really happened was during those dowry negotiations. So
processes,
I think we are right to say that there is something beautiful within dowry.
I think also just the momentum with which this thing gathers, with the more people getting involved, the more you also appreciate, I think, the seriousness of what you're getting into.
That's true.
In a way, the weight of it begins to down on you.
That's true. So, I mean, that, and then coupled with the fact that in the Bible we see, you know, a servant being sent to go look for a wife for Isaac. And, you know, Jacob having to work for a certain period of time to get, I mean, Kalimramba, it went badly, but, you know, he went back and he had to do something, you know, to get a wife. And I mean, Reverend John was talking earlier about the fact that the Lord does not castigate that. You know, the Lord says, do not about a lot of things in the Old Testament. But he speaks no wrong about the process of acquiring a wife and what dowry looked like for them in those days. So there is a place for dowry, right? Is there a place for dowry within the Christian, what's the word? Within Christianity, you know, as a Christian, as I think of dowry. Because the thing is, some aspects of dowry, I'm sure, tend to be... There are certain things about dowry that you would think and feel, I don't know whether this is very godly, you know, I don't know about that. So how should Christians then think when talking about or considering dowry before marriage?
Christianity itself is lived in culture. It's exercised in culture.
That's interesting.
And it's actually interesting that God would actually have his son come and what you call the reincarnation. Yeah. When he actually became a part of us, be born in a certain context and live out within that.
Yeah.
And so culture is an expression of our humanity in a sense. So that Christianity comes and embraces everything in the culture that is aspects of our human nature that we borrow from our image of God. But anything that contradicts, of course, the scripture, then Christianity, you know, it becomes supracultural in that sense. So we must begin by affirming that the gospel affirms culture. It affirms God himself sending Jesus as a human, affirms culture and affirms humanity.
That's
in
a
its own
really
way.
important thing to say, Baraka. You know, I've actually never thought of it like that, that God could have saved us in other ways, you know, but he chose to have Christ come and live within our mess, you know, or what is seemingly our mess. You know, the intricacies of being circumcised at a certain period and having to go into, you know...
In accordance with the custom.
You know, in accordance with the custom, and having to
and go to weddings,
you know, having to basically just do everything that the culture at that point was doing, and yet the Bible talks about how, you know, he who did not have sin at all, and yet so now he was right to take our sin, because even in the murkiness of the culture, he was not... My words fail
adulterated
me.
Or
yes, he was not, the sin didn't smear him into sinfulness. That's the thing. So then,
I think what we can add, Kathy, is again, cultures. In every culture, if it's the expression of humanity, then we also have to say that there are some parts of our cultures that needs redemption.
That's true.
There's a space for drawing the lines as a Christian in terms of what I need to do, and what I will say now, this I can't do. I think every other culture, there's a place for saying no, and especially when the humanity, the sinful part of us, begins to now bring or want to lean on the culture side, things that are not okayed by the gospel. There's a place to draw the line, because I think one of the example that keeps coming up, especially within the culture dowry culture marriage, the Kikuyu's marriage process, is the place where now you get in that process where you have to. They say then you have to pour blood for the ancestors. The long dead. There's a place I need to stand as a Christian. I know, everything, yes, but at this point I'll draw the line, because we know that there's no blood that is poured for nothing. And for us who are Christian, we only believe that our Lord Jesus Christ paid it all. So there's a place to draw the line, because every culture will find there's something that is not in line with the gospel truths. That's true.
That's true. I think another thing that Christians should really consider when thinking through the dowry process is just how much honor it brings to their parents, especially considering the fact that parents, someone was saying today, and I really agreed with them, that when, for example, when I was getting married, my mom had dreamt about my wedding day, and the period heading to my wedding day, and how beautiful that would be, just as much as I had. So I can imagine in fact, I can vividly remember the tears that were on my mom's eyes. She was balancing tears, just that full morning, being around there, me dressing up, getting into the gown, her praying for me, and and now her presenting me to my husband's mother and praying over me, and just that beautiful thing. And then now being removed. Well, removed is not the word. Just that's direct.
You're now speaking Kikuyu. But we understand.
But for purposes of this, me being removed from my mother's house.
Yes.
And then the neighbors knowing, that one has gotten married. That has gotten married. Kwanza, they did a wedding. Just the amount of honor that gives.
It is as much a milestone to you as it is your parents. As well.
I usually call it, what Baraka is saying, I usually call it that day, the day of negotiations or dowry. It's like, your parents is achieving a PhD.
That's true.
It's a serious milestone. Imagine the social capital when your parent now begins to say, my daughter went in the light. See what you've done to you. My son did not go through the mbafefe.
This word African parents say a lot. You have made us proud.
You've made us proud.
You know how affirming it is to hear that? Whenever you're living out your life with that reality and that voice lingering in your background, you're like, this has come with the approval and affirmation of my parents.
Given your parents some serious social capital. Now, as my dad can see it before wazee, kijana yangu najua,
honor, and thank you for being actually that, honor is known. We know when honor is being given and honor when it's being received. And the scriptures invite us to honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment to the promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on earth. It's as if God gives us, of course, the first institution in which a child is born into is a parenting institution, in which a parent becomes the first authority, who hopefully should mirror God in that sense. And then now God has sanctioned, or in a sense blessed or placed the parents in a place where their voice in the life of a child, even in their adulthood, is significant to an extent. So that when you give them honor, it's equivalent to as if you've given honor to God.
And we don't think like that, Sana Baraka. We tend to feel that when we are older, then the parents' place in our lives tend to, and people, a lot of people, as they grow older, really diminish the role of parents, just in terms of the blessing of a parent and, the goodwill of a parent when it comes to you and the place that you are and the things that you do. So yeah, I think sorry I cut you short, but I really thought that was
Thank you. I like what Reverend John says about honor. He says honor is such that it is not qualified by the person who is receiving it, in the sense that it is not that I only give honor to people who are deserving, because in all reality, not all parents would appear, or in the way they conduct themselves, appear they would feel like I'm obligated to give them honor. So the Bible gives it in such a way that it's not conditional. Give honor to only parents who act in a certain way, agree with you.
I know.
Who go to church, who are educated. No.
Who
give honor your father
when you are small.
Oh man,
Honor parents who didn't. The parents who have abused their children, and it's a sad thing. But the scriptures still just invite you on your own part as a child. Honor your father and your mother.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Mwangi, you as a person who now foresees a close eventuality where you will be giving your daughter away. Would you like to speak to parents who are now involved in the dowry process? What would you tell them? Or now considering the fact that you have actually been involved in quite a few dowry processes, both the good ones and the murky ones, what would you advise the parents in that way?
I think first of all is to make sure we understand the process. It's a complex issue. When it's not well understood, then we are bound to get into all the problems and all the stereotypes about dowry. So I would say if I was a parent and I'm looking at that future for myself, then I would do what I need to do to understand dowry in light of our Christian faith, the things we've been saying here. So that's the first thing. But in terms of how it will unfold, of course, I don't live in a vacuum. It's not just me and my daughter again, right? Kathy, that's where I'll come and tell you, sasa msichana wangu, let's go and see who are those people who wants my daughter, right? Because again, I don't live. You are part of the community. You're part of the family, right? And I think that's what I would do. Understand dowry and understand it, especially more important, how it stands in light of our Christian faith.
I actually remember my father-in-law, when we'd gone now for the first visit with my jamas, and then he told us now, how, this girl has fathers, so I'll go and talk to them, then we'll come back.
Exactly, that was that. I was part of that, and we had to respect that because it's true. Unless I want to say my daughter, my choice, No, I've not raised them even to think that way. They know Uncle so and so. They know all the friends who it matters.
And that's really how.
But Kathy, maybe to add, again, if you misunderstand dowry and only see part of money, I guess this is where the sin for us now. Like I begin to look at my daughter and I'm only seeing money, Kenya shillings, and especially in this day of huge taxes. You see what will be motivating me. It's what I'll get from that day. I guess that's not really the thing about dowry or that process. Of course, who doesn't want to see where my daughter is going? What kind of people are these, right?
Wouldn't it be
they are also strangers to me.
That's
she
true.
may know them, but like you said, your mom meets the other side, the in-laws, the owner of in-laws, the family becomes bigger. So that's what I would say, Kathy.
I mean, and the risk of asking for money and not taking the time to get to know the people that you're giving your child to. Man, we've had stories of people ladies who've been mistreated. I know. Badly. And the rhetoric is, where tulikununua? We saw, where are you going? I paid for you.
Again, the sin for us.
I think that's really sad. So it's not really about the money. On the flip side, I've actually heard of families who've come together and they've like Mwangi was saying earlier, they took gifts or just some some semblance of honor, but not necessarily money. And it was received well, and the people have had wonderful marriages, and they continue to have wonderful marriages, and the families have come together. So I think the issue here is really that it's not about the money.
Yeah, as soon as you make it about money, you lose it at that point. You lose it everywhere along that path.
Something to say about that?
It would be appropriate in the same line to speak to parents and say what the scripture says: do not exasperate your children. Because whether you parent, biological parent, or even the uncles who come in now as representing parents in that sense, and don't frustrate the process in such a way that it becomes a you versus them, so that you create an enabling environment for your children to thrive. I like parents who say, we want you children to want to bless you. So I know whatever you are doing here, you're honoring us, so we want to honor you back. It's only right. If you have Christian parents who are listening to this, to know that as well.
So just by way of concluding what we've said that dowry for a Christian should be considered, yes, as a part of accountability and honoring parents and bringing the communities together. That should be considered. That we should be careful to sift what is godly and what is not, so that as the dowry process honors our parents and our families, that it should also honor God in the same way, and that it's really not about the money.
It's never been about the money.
It's just about honoring and starting well together. You know, like doing the beginning of the sprint should have like good shoes, and I don't know, I'm not a runner, so I don't know. I started the and then I figured I don't even know what do these people do in order to run well, but you get my point. So I think that this has been a great conversation. I don't know if you have anything that you would want to add as we come to a close.
Baraka.
Maybe also to throw it, I think what we have been saying is help, maybe speaking to the people who are in that process, who are young people, maybe anticipating whether young, whatever age they are getting married, who are in the process of on this other side of marriage, and they are thinking maybe this is something outdated, you should do away with. I think this is a beautiful African culture that should be embraced, celebrated, affirmed, have its place in the whole journey and the process of marriage. Marriage is honorable. Marriage is a covenant, like we have said. And what better place to do it than within community and bringing all these families together. And so perhaps if you may have hesitations about this because of how you have seen others, please check your attitude. I have found sometimes that when you carry an attitude in a certain thing, maybe you expect frustration. Sometimes you're almost in a witch hunt or looking out for any slightest frustration. You almost, this is what I meant by it. So perhaps you may need to broaden, enlarge your heart and make your heart bigger and make room for, even if there may be frustrations in the process, because we are human and sometimes the whole process may not be as smooth as we would have hoped for. But please enjoy this, receive it, and invite God into that situation and see the beauty that will come out of it.
I think mine is just to add on that and say, if you are in that process of marriage, dowry, all the visits as they call them, it will help to consult with people who've been there. People who say, mine was beautiful. It's not like what I hear here, because I guess most people have only heard the negative things about dowry and our marriage process. I think we've made a case for the beautiful things that are in line with keeping the Christian faith. But my line is, my parting shot would be, I like that whole process, because the more I see it, the more I realize that our culture, or when it comes to marriage, our culture takes marriages seriously. More and more, like we said, people just want, it's our thingy. But I like that culture takes marriage very seriously. We will call the uncle who has been in Kisumu for 50 years. He has to be there.
Yeah.
He has a place on the table.
Yeah.
My grandma has a place on the table.
Yeah.
All of us have a place on the table.
Yeah.
Let's hear this idea, this thing, you young people. Let's hear this thing you are telling us. So I love that part. Yeah. So with better understanding of what the process involves, I think it's a beautiful thingy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Our prayer is that all of these episodes will be of help to you. Thanks for listening in. See you on the next one.